It is important to also recognize the attacks by Hamas did not happen in a vacuum. The Palestinian people have been subjected to 56 years of suffocating occupation. They have seen their land steadily devoured by settlements and plagued by violence, their economy stifled, their people displaced, and their homes demolished. Their hopes for a political solution to their plight have been vanishing. But the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas, and those appalling attacks cannot justify the collective punishment of the Palestinian people.
This is the statement made by United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres, voicing concerns about the humanitarian crisis that is happening in the Gaza Strip, but at the same time take into account the historical context of the Israel occupation. In response, the Israel ambassador alleged that Guterres' statement was equivalent to supporting terrorism and demanded that the UN Secretary General resign. The following day, Antonio Guterres says he is shocked by misrepresentation of his comments on Israel. In the aftermath of these polarizing statements, the narrative surrounding the conflict between Israel and Palestine becomes even more complex. The international community grapples with the barrage of information and counter-information, where the line between fact and fiction blurs. And as the world reacts to the Secretary General comments, it becomes evident that the struggle extends beyond these physical confrontations on the ground. It's also a battle over narratives shaping public perceptions. At the tactical and operational level, the war in Gaza and the Israeli ground invasion is about bombs, guns, mortars, and the ability of each side to match its street-by-street gains in a deadly urban battle. At the strategic level, though, the war is about perception, telling a story about who is the victim and who is the aggressor. And if the prelude to the invasion of Gaza is any indication, lies, mistruths, and disinformation will play a key and continuing role in this fight. In past Israeli campaigns into Gaza, such as 2012 and 2014, initial support for the Israeli operation faded as sympathies increasingly turned toward the Palestinians who were suffering high civilian casualties in the densely populated landscape. This was supported by the Hamas media wing, which effectively used images and video of the conflict, and the resulting suffering to change international opinion. The stakes are even higher today. The deadly attack committed by Hamas militants in October 7th has quickly been coined Israel's 9/11. Israel has consequently set a political objective of total destruction of Hamas. Experts disagree about whether such an objective is even attainable, but Israel's current tactics is for the Israel Defense Forces to invade and divide Gaza with an overwhelming amount of firepower. The current operation has produced more civilian casualties than past assaults on Gaza, and many assume it will get a lot worse. Hamas and even the Palestinians saw this as an existential fight and responded accordingly. Enter the information war. From the start, the perception of civilian casualties in Gaza are, in strategic military language, the center of gravity of the war. High civilian casualties will dissipate Israel's international image and risk limiting the destruction that can rain on Hamas. Each side knows this and will attempt to share perceptions, in some cases through any means necessary. In false information and deliberate framing will play a key role. This information war is playing out on several fronts. In Gaza, Israel and Hamas release information that is to their advantage. IDF spokesman would frame Hamas' use of human shields and Israeli care in striking targets. Hamas will play up the civilian toll. Both sides will release loads of supporting footage. Outside Gaza, bourgeois supporters will advocate for their sides and will create, like, share content accordingly, and international news media outlets will play their narrative according to their affiliations. When it comes to traditional media, Israel has a clear advantage over Hamas or Palestine, and its media narrative enjoys widespread global coverage due to its political affiliations with the United States. For example, Israel governmental responses and IDF's interviews often make it to the front pages on CNN or CNBC. Inside Israel, the government has also attempted to restrict international news media. While the regulation appears to be aimed at the operation of Qatari channel Al Jazeera, the International Federation of Journalists fear they could also be used to shut down other media operating in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories. Social media has played a major part in sharing information about the conflict, especially platforms like TikTok, where war-related videos have attracted billions of views. As of 10 of October 2023, the hashtag Palestine has some 27.8 billion views, and hashtag Israel has around 23 billion on TikTok. The Israel Defense Forces additionally has a profile on TikTok, which currently has 300,000 followers. On the other hand, Hamas has been banned from most social media sites and are unable to post on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. However, some content from the group has also been posted on sites like Telegram. As for the general trend, over the past couple of weeks, the number of views for pro-Palestine posts has far surpassed views of pro-Israel posts. Some people who have posted in support for Palestine or the civilians impacted by the bombing campaign in Gaza have raised claims that they were being purposely censored or their posts being restricted or being seen for a broader audience. Thousands of pro-Palestine supporters have raised claims that Facebook and Instagram have suppressed or removed posts that did not break the platform's rule. One user on Instagram reported that her Instagram stories posts about developments in Palestine were receiving fewer views and did not appear on her friends' accounts. Her username became unsearchable and her friends were unable to interact with her post. On 13 October, Meta has restricted access to the Instagram account of the photojournalist and influencer Mutaz Aziza after he shared footage of the aftermath of an Israeli bombardment that has killed 15 of his family members. In another case, Instagram's C translation feature falsely added the word terrorist to some Palestinian user status, and the issue was later fixed and Meta issued an apology. Within the Israel-Gaza war, journalists have found themselves not only as observers but also as victims. According to the latest reports from the Committee to Protect Journalists, as of November 11th, investigations indicate that at least 40 journalists and media workers have been killed since the onset of the war on October 7th. These incidents are not isolated, but they are part of a broader pattern of hostilities targeting journalists. The CPJ has documented 21 separate incidents of journalists facing direct challenges and dangers while they are on duty in Israel and the Palestinian territories, including Gaza and the West Bank. The reported challenges range from arrest and physical assault to threats, cyber attacks, and censorship attempts. Misinformation is another plague that has been rampaging within this information war between Palestine and Israel. In an interview made by The Intercept, they have examined the current spread of misinformation during the conflict and how the media has historically ignored violence perpetrated by Israel, and how the impunity surrounding many of those attacks by Israeli forces has given the government freedom to collectively punish Palestinians broadly in revenge for the assault by Hamas. We have seen that the Israel Defense Forces, or the IDF, is frequently cited on top of many international news media sites, but as always, as media consumers, fact-checking remains a top priority. Let's take a closer look at an example This is one of the latest videos that the IDF has published on their YouTube channel. In this 6-minute video, the IDF spokesperson would walk through what they claim to be one of the Hamas tunnels under the Rantisi hospital in Gaza. In one of the latest segments, the spokesperson attempted to prove that they have evidence of Hamas activities.
There is a list. This list, in Arabic, this list says we are in an operation. The operation against Israel started in the 7th of October. This is a Guardian list where every terrorist writes his name and every terrorist has his own shift guarding the people that were here.
But the text itself contradicts what the IDF spokesman actually implied. In case there's no convenient access to an Arabic translator in your area, Google Translate can suffice, although with a few mistranslations. So what can you do here? What can be done? Really, the best recommendation for the supporters and those watching on the sidelines is to be careful what you believe and in what you share. Find trusted sources, corroborate information where you can, be suspicious of emotional laden content or overly dramatic headlines, and take a pause before hitting that share button. For the militants and the governments, false accusations and even accuracies will only undercut their causes. Though truth is the first casualty of war, it is still the best weapon. And as the international community assesses the loss of civilian lives, it will be critical to cut through the moral of mistruths and collect cold, hard facts.